2025. Welcome to season 4 of your favorite evening talk show. Ladies and gentlemen, the dish is back. It was a beautiful launch. I saw all of you out there. I want to say big thank you to Epiglow for coming on board this year. My name is Miriam Udwak Mensah. We are coming to you live from the MX24 studios, Oleander Street, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. This season is packed with thought-provoking discussions, empowering perspectives on women's issues, and a focus on global development. And of course, my guests in the studio this evening, they are ready for this. Now, come along as we continue to elevate women's voices, disrupt outdated norms, and drive a real change with progressive women. Yes, once you hear progressive women, you know the dish is back. I want to say a big thank you to Epiglow for coming on board. This year, we are super excited. If you want that beautiful glowy skin, Epiglow is your go-to. A big thank you to Decozone for this beautiful set as well. I tell you, if you want to turn that house into a home with beautiful pieces, just making a statement in your home, Decozone is a place to go. I want to say another big thank you to Gino, Cowbell, and Telecel for coming on board. If you want to join the conversation online, the hashtag is The Dish on MX on all social media platforms. Let's hear from you what you make of this evening's topic. Well, the essential value of celebrating International Women's Day is our conversation for this evening. And I'm excited because a couple of days ago, we celebrated International Women's Day. And ladies and gentlemen, why are we even celebrating International Women's Day? Well, International Women's Day, celebrated annually on March 8th, is a global event recognizing the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women worldwide. This celebration serves as a powerful reminder of the ongoing fight for gender equality and the vital contribution women make in all spheres of society. The theme for International Women's Day 2025 was Accelerate Action, underscores the urgency of advancing gender equality as at a faster and more deliberate pace, which significantly brings progress. Now, has also brought many challenges and remains that very important conversation for women to achieving their full potential. Now, this year's theme encourages a renewed commitment to eliminating gender disparities, addressing obstacles that hinder women's rights, and fostering an environment where women's voices are amplified and their achievements recognized. Celebrating International Women's Day not only honors women's contribution, but also acts as a catalyst for change, pushing for immediate and impactful action to create a more inclusive, equitable world. Ladies and gentlemen, well, I have my guests already seated for this conversation. Now, this woman, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I have been watching her, following her. I call her the diplomat's diplomat. The diplomats here, you know where you get somewhere and the biggest person in the room is seeing somebody and is addressed. That's this woman. Her name is Harriet, Nartey, Executive Director, Diplomatic Affairs Media and Communications Limited, host of Diplomatic Affairs TV that shows on Pan-African television. Good morning, Nampa. Good evening.
Good evening, Mimi. It's good to see you again.
It's really awesome and humbling to have to sit here with you.
Thank you so much.
Honored.
I am so honored.
Thank you so much for coming. I also have Aminah Abisiba. Did I pronounce that well?
Yeah, Aminah, Abisiba, Annan.
Aminah. Because usually it's Aminah. But this one is Aminah.
Yes.
Annan as well. She's a event MC, event MC, host, moderator, and a former SRC Nukes Women's Commissioner of University of Education, Winneba. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
I was telling her earlier that I used to get really upset when I hear the word Bukum. It used to upset me. But it was all pure hate. Hate for the gender I belong to. Because why does this person feel so confident? Who do they think they are?
She's doing her job.
Right?
Yeah, she's doing her job.
I have to go and apologize to my Wukom.
You
Go
have
look
to.
for her
I
now.
have to look for her and apologize
Yes.
because I was doing too much. And everybody could tell, except now I print too much. But ladies, good evening once again. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. It has become imperative to have these conversations because people will ask, why are we celebrating International Women's Day? Why are we celebrating? And when it comes to women, the celebration is always grand. There's a theme, then there's a theme which is color, and then there's a theme in terms of words of why we are celebrating, why do we have to put women on the map. All of these conversations have come up over the years. Now we want to have the conversation. Why are we celebrating women? Why is there a day set aside to celebrate women, to highlight the struggles women go through?
But Mimi,
yes.
Good evening once again.
Thank you. Good evening.
Let me state that you've already done your homework. In your intro, you mentioned why the day is relevant.
Yes.
And the basic line for me will be honoring women's contributions to society.
Yes.
And I think that is why we celebrate International Women's Day. Why is it important that a day like that is set aside for the commemoration of women? It's because challenges have been identified, and there was the need to begin to think around solving these challenges. Hence, the need to actually put aside or set aside a particular day specifically that highlights the challenges, the gains made, the challenges, and the way forward.
Absolutely.
That's why the day is highly recognizable.
Now I'm going to go to you, Aminah. How impactful has this celebration been over the years? Because we have stated that, listen, it's important. Challenges like Harriet has said, challenges have been identified, so solutions are being proposed for women to be included in conversation, for this problems to be solved. But have we made any form of impact so far? All these years of celebrating International Women's Day, have we made any strides at all?
We've made very, very great impact over the years because it started way back in the 1900s. It was somewhere in America, and today we are celebrating it worldwide. Women have come far during the days where we can't even boast of our own achievement. We have to either use our father's names or our husband's name. That is why we even have to have Mrs. So and so instead of our own name, because a woman is seen not to show or not to be loud, and all these things came from those days. So the impact that this particular event, which is the International Women's Day celebrated on the 8th of March, is that it keeps encouraging women. It's an advocacy, it's an awareness. It is telling me that this is what Madam Nartey has been doing. So as a young person, I can continue to do so on that channel or on that path to also, progress and be successful in whatever career or personality that I want to be. So it has been great. It has shown the path. We've listened to success stories, we've listened to the sad ones, and it is shaping the lives of young women and then even women that are older. We have women going back to the classroom, sitting down to write exams, and it's because of some of these things. We have shielded the fact that women have made achievements or women have crossed paths so many realities. It would have been the fact that, okay, I wouldn't have seen it. I would also shield myself. Yeah. But if I have seen Madam Nartey going that far as a diplomatic international relation expert, it means that whatever that I want to achieve as Aminah in my young age, I will grow with it and also be successful. So it has given so much impact to not just one woman, but entire women, and yet the women who are yet to be born.
Wow. So it turns out that we are making progress. But then again, this year had a peculiar theme, which is accelerate action. Harriet, what does this mean to you as a woman for this theme to be selected for this year's celebration of International Women's Day?
Accelerate action is very intentional. From the levels of the United Nations, we have UN Women as well. Yes. Now, UN as a universal body or a multilateral organization, this is key to one of the things that they want to achieve when it comes to lifting women off the ground. And I will do my possible best to be devoid of all the jargon so that we can have the layman's language,
Because
so,
you see how smile
the technical terms.
She's bringing the diplomatic affairs here.
I'll do away with the technical terms so that we will all understand.
Absolutely.
Because that will
Thank
be the essence of this gathering today. So I think that looking at the fact that women have been identified as a minority in society, and women are going through so much when it comes to the various communities that make up a society. The universal body, which I would term that is being the United Nations, has been very intentional about how they can proffer solutions to some of these challenges. However, I think that regional variations should also be considered because the problems are not universal. And it's one thing when it comes to approaching issues or problems, you know, because we tend to sometimes forget that there's nothing like one particular way or move will not solve all the problems because they are peculiar.
It is.
Yes, they are peculiar to countries, they are peculiar to continents, they are peculiar to the people, who they are, what they stand for, what makes them, and everything, the orientation. Therefore, I think that those things should be considered. Accelerate action is very intentional. Accelerate action regarding initiatives that concern women, policies that concern women, and strategies in solving some of these problems, and of course, looking at resources as well. So accelerate action means that be deliberate about the problems you are faced in your communities or society, and also make sure that you allocate resources. Do not sideline it and think that there are other more important things that must be focused on. This should be highlighted as well. So I think that the theme for this year is, I mean, as every year, is very, very important. Yeah, that's a reminder.
Yes.
Yeah, calling all of us to action.
I like the way you take the opportunity to educate. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
If I've not said that already, I'm telling you now.
Oh, wow, Mimi.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. Thank
Today,
you.
And I've told you people that this show, I'm only going to bring my seniors until I finish.
You want to bully your audience. I see that.
To show them that. Well, thank you so much for that education. But then again, there also is there was a silent, voice in there of equality.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this entire conversation, I could totally see throughout all the events that you saw, put together for
it's the core of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Right. But
so.
where do you think we're at? Let's bring it down to the local level here in Ghana. Gender equality in politics, in business, in even down all the way to families. The voice of a woman. Do you think we've gotten to a point where we're heard enough? We've made like some sort of progress that the future looks bright in terms of equality?
We have our former WUCOM commissioner. Yes, I'm sure she can get very practical with this particular question because she has dealt with a lot of young women regarding her previous post or portfolio. So I think she can be very practical. Please, push it to her.
I'll push it to you.
Well, I think we are getting there. And we have a lot of work to do because even amidst as women, as young women, we still don't understand. Because before you even get to the word equality, you ask yourself, what do you want to do? Who are you? It boils down to that. If you get to understand that I am a woman, this is what I am, this is what I want to do, then you can find a path into which you can clearly get to your side of equality. But if these young girls don't even know what they want, they are not shaped, they don't want to be shaped, they don't want to be carried along, how then do they get into the conversation of equality? So it boils down to, if you know what you want, you know your career path, you know the kind of woman you want to be as a young girl, as a woman, then we can talk about equality. But for now, I can say we are getting there. Because you and I bear witness that what happens on social media. The moment you take on phone, the only conversation is, as a woman, how to keep a man, blah, 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 blah. We are not preparing the young woman's mind in most of these conversations for life. We are preparing them for an institution, one-sided institution. So a one-sided institution which is called marriage, then we leave the career, we leave the personality, we leave the skills, whatever the person wants to be, we leave all that and focus on that one. So I think the conversation about the equality must shape the entire personality of the woman, not just the aspects of how a woman must satisfy the husband. Because these are some of the conversation happening, and we see it, and it's very heartbreaking that we find young persons like us, or even much younger than us, engaging in such conversation, and so much of those videos, it's very, very alarming. So with the equality, I think we are getting getting there, and it boils down to us. If we are able to understand, we can carry other gender along to support us. But as long as we are not getting there ourselves, we don't even understand. Because when you find a woman getting there, you find other women. Though we don't want to portray that kind of idea that a woman brings a woman down, but it's very, very alarming in our system. So I think that the equality is there, but we as the women, we have to understand ourselves and carry our individual personality along and carry other women along. If you hadn't invited me, I don't think I'll have the opportunity to sit with madam. You are carrying me along, and that should be the conversation. So for me, the equality is not just calling on other gender, it's among ourselves as young women and women in general.
Wow. Wow. Your perspectives are amazing. I wouldn't have thought about this, honestly. Now, so when you look at the celebration as well, you'd realize that it's in there, again in Ghana, right? You'd see the celebration really centered in Accra. You don't see it going out of Accra as much. Some groups or organizations would say, oh, we're going to, a different region too, but you don't see the impact as much. How are we able to have this conversation holistically? Especially, I keep basing it here in Ghana because I know the ecosystem we're dealing with, and I know the impact of I can hold your hands too. And you remember when the now vice president was campaigning, she said, once I get the nod, I am not going to go by myself. I'm going to open the door and keep the door. Did you see the chaos it created in the atmosphere? A lot of women started getting hope. Like, oh, wow, we're going to get someone who's going to tell us what to do. Then I also sat here and explained to people that when she says I'm going to keep the door open, she didn't mean that she's going to sit there and be calling you and giving you opportunities. Brand ministry, Beshe has it. That's not what she meant. She meant that all these years of experience, she's risen through the ranks. That journey is hard for a lot of women today. She's teaching you that you can do it just by doing it right. And that is the door she's kept open. If you see it as that, you're able to go through the process knowing that the end goal is victory for you. If we're able to look at it this way, then we know that we really have a mentor sitting out there for us.
Yeah.
But that is another conversation. Outside Accra, how are we able to have this conversation? Let it also affect these girls too. Let them also see too that they can be a Harriet. They can be an Aminah. They can also be that vice president too. How are we able to do this?
Well, they can be a Mimi. Right.
Exactly.
When you talk about being holistic about women issues, the celebration, the impact that you want to see, feeling it directly, you cannot be holistic without dealing with the grassroots. That's why I wanted Aminah to speak from the perspective of the younger ones from school,
and that was amazing.
From
Thank
university,
you.
because we are talking about the younger version of ourselves and carrying the conversation to them on the ground. That's why I said we have to start from the grassroots. You talked about everything being centered here in the city. I believe things happen elsewhere as well, like other regions, maybe all 16 regions. I might also be wrong because usually Accra is the loudest. So you can't really conclude because the sound is based here. You think that it is, you are able to decentralize. We are unable to do so unless we begin. So we can only feel the impact from the ground up, from the ground up. Initiatives are all that's what we are talking about when it comes to the celebration. Basically, it's about policies, but there must be initiatives for them to be, for policies to be made based on the initiatives.
Right.
And without the initiatives, we can't make policies. What are the initiatives? When we sit here and we talk about the impact of the day, it becomes the usual, pump and pageantry. We done, okay, everybody go to bed. We've forgotten about the day. But if we are able to go down where we have mentors like yourself, like generations, ahead of us, and then even themselves, people of the same generation who have, who stand out in a certain way, who are being progressive with their lives and, giving back to society. As young as they may be, they are still being, they are impacting in a certain way. When we do that, then you have something that you can actually aspire to be. You cannot aspire to be something that you've never seen.
True.
You can't even dream it. But you can only say that, oh, I want to be a doctor when you chance on a medical officer or personnel, or when someone comes into your space, and then that's when you discover that, oh, there's a profession called this or that or that, so if we don't go to the grassroots where we are intentional about catching them young and beginning to work on their psyche, their mind faculties, it is going to be, they will get here before they realize that we should have done things differently. And then it continues like that without meaningful impact. So then we have to make sure that we go back and do the right thing. So catching them young start from, if you're talking about the rural communities, I like the idea of even a farmer, if you want someone to look up to, and we are not just talking about professions, we are talking about building and raising a good human being and a woman who is well equipped. When a woman is empowered, it benefits the entire society.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that is not to say that when the other gender is, empowered, it doesn't.
Have an impact.
It does, but the point is that it goes a long way to lift or take off the burden of you.
Absolutely.
So you don't get to do it alone, but then I am also helping you. We get there faster. We are able to get results, as much as we can. We are able to impact as many as we can. So you begin to see results because you're not doing it alone. And that is why it is essential that we begin to go to the bottom and begin to speak, and not just by words, but also actionalize everything that we are telling them to be and do and be better women. And that's from decisions. That's from, when we talk about independent, usually men don't like the word, I'm an independent woman. It puts them off. But you see, it's because I think they haven't been able to break it down or decode it as they should. That's why they probably misunderstand the word or the application of the word. So maybe there's a lot of work to be done, but we have to be deliberate. We have to be conscious. We have to make sure that we are hitting from the bottom, up.
There was a time when in our society, and that was way before me, and in many other generations, that educating the female wasn't priority. It wasn't that big of a deal. But then that gap, I would say, has been bridged, and we are at a point where, again, we've seen massive progress. When you go to school, they will tell, when you go to secondary school, primary schools, you'd realize that the number of girls in school has skyrocketed. It's impressive, but then we still have deficits.
A lot of it.
A lot of it that is stemming from people still not grabbing the conversation of educate the girl too. And I'm going to take this to you because I know when I go to her, she will send me here. So let me come back here. Let me come back here. Okay. You have been in the education space for a while. You didn't only just go to school, you went to lead in school as well. What is it looking like? Is it have we made the kind of progress that we're talking about, that we've made sitting from the outside? Have we made that much progress, and what could we do to improve, to close up the gap that we have now?
The progress we've made, but like I said earlier, there are more work to do each and every day. It keeps increasing. That is why today we are talking about accelerating action. Now, for the young woman's journey, at every space, there is a new, let me say, welcoming adventure that comes along when a young woman is growing. So right from the primary, you have a different self. You have a different mind. You are into your junior high school, that is your early teenagers. You have a different mindset. Your biological makeup is changing. You are not seeing things anymore. You get confused. Now you are at the senior high school, and even between the junior high school and the senior high school, there are some rocky moments there. If you are not shaped, you don't get the people to shape you well, society doesn't hold you well, you will fall apart. And we all know that teenage pregnancy is one cause of it, STDs, a lot of things that can affect the young woman. So, and even at the university, you get to realize that some people you started school with don't get to graduate, not because they don't want to, but a lot of factors are involved. Challenges that affect that young woman not to be able to contribute to her own personal growth. So I think these are some of the things. And these days, it's sad that at the basic level, even though I encourage the fact that when a young girl gets herself pregnant, she should be allowed to write exams or get herself educated. It's still alarming because that's not the focus. The focus is not to go to school and get pregnant. The focus is to go to school, get knowledge, get skills, and then move ahead with your personal growth and development to come back to help the society grow. And so for the young woman, we are progressing. We are doing it because you have people who go back to school after, you know, after antenatal and all that, that has to do with their pregnancy and all that. So I think we need to hint there. We need to not just focus on also that aspect, because we change each and every time, and each and every changes comes with its challenges and also its own problems.
And if these challenges break you, they shouldn't. Society shouldn't help it break you completely.
But the society unfortunately helps. Even when they've not seen you engage in there, there's a notion that abofra we there nimpokua definitely the society is even pushing it towards you, even without you realizing it. Because when I was young, I had it already. I didn't even realize I had breast. It was the society. Was so 90 years. Meanwhile, I didn't have that intention. But so we call on those kinds of negative perception onto the young woman before they get to realize that, okay, so I'm a woman. So if a man proposes, it means that I can be in that arena. So that is not the conversation we want to have. The conversation is, let's support them. Let's not say that they are growing. Let's not say that they are alone. Let's not say that they've gotten there, because no matter what, like my mentor would say, we still have mentors. As I'm mentioning, you have a mentor. So we shouldn't let it go. At every stage of every young lady, they need a support, they need encouragement. If you are there, you can just catch any of them, catch them young, and then also make sure they are prim and proper so that they can come back and give back to the society.
I like that bit where you answered your question and put a different conversation in there. I don't know if you noticed it, because it's a big conversation that we're not having. If I am not aware of my own growth and I'm innocently walking through life, nobody should prompt me to let me know that, oh, you are becoming this, and so you're good enough for this. You know, and that's what society sometimes does to you. And then the bigger one is that after that huge decision is taken to have a child as a teenager, it's almost as if it all ends for you. We have a bigger conversation to have around that, because I'm a teenage mother, and I can tell you it's not a smooth space to be at. But yes, again, we're having very progressive conversations. We're having conversations with progressive women, and they seated here right now, they're blowing my mind. I even want to just give them questions and just sit there and listen, pause and listen, because they're giving insights that are so impactful. So I need you to stay right here on the show with me. We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, conversation continues right here on The Dish. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to The Dish right here on MX24. My name is Miriam Uduak Mensah. This is The Dish. I want to say a big thank you to DecoZone for this very beautiful set, and a big one to Epiglow for coming on board this year. I said if you want that skin to be smooth, glowy, they've been here for 40 years. What makes a company stay in business for 40 years if not great quality? So I want to say a big thank you to Epiglow one more time. Grab yourself an Epiglow facial cream, Epiglow skin lotion. I call it skin solution. It's not just a lotion, it's a solution to that. Don't walk around in 2025 with a rusty skin, sister. That skin needs Epiglow to glow, okay? A big thank you to your best friend, that's Cowbell Coffee, stays with you every single moment. And of course, to Telecel for coming on board. Again, we want to say big thank you. Your network is breaking. We want data. You know, one of the problems with the Ghanaian individual is data. The data is out there. The whole world has come to an end. But Telecel is designing a data package for you, designed purposely for you, for all your needs when it comes to the internet, surfing through the internet. Is it to run your business? We have a special package for you from Telecel. So jump on there and thank me later. Now let's get back into the studio. We're still having conversation. I have the diplomats. Harriet Nartey, she's sitting right here, and of course I have the woman who reminds me of how evil I have been all these years. I said this after this show, I'm going to find that girl. I have to apologize to her. This woman is sitting here making me feel bad about myself, but it's fine. But ladies, thank you so much. So far we've had a great conversation, but we're going to jump right into it. Is it possible that some women are using International Women's Day to push agendas that may not align with the core of this entire thing. I wish you take it, but no. Let Harriet take this one. Do you feel like some women are using this International Women's Day to push agenda with no consent, this agenda that we're pushing?
Well, because it is of interest to us globally, you definitely would find people who will begin to look at, profiting from the cause.
Right.
So I think it's in order.
Right.
We also have to eat, right? So, and pay the bills, right?
Okay.
So that's also
and
allowed, right?
the agendas don't disrupt.
So it should be good agenda.
Okay.
It should be good agenda. Now, when you talk about gender, I'm just wondering, what exactly are you insinuating?
I'm glad you asked. So, for instance, the actual intent of feminism. Let me start from that. Of feminism was to include women into the conversation too. So if you have a table full of men making decisions for the country, we want to see women there also, having their turn to speak or have an input in the decisions for the country. But for a very long time, we didn't have that. And the actual intent of feminism was for women to be included too, not to compete. But over time, we've seen the narrative change, with women pushing agenda of, no, disrespect the man. Don't let him let you sleep on the floor. Don't let him cook for you. All these agendas are all agendas that disrupt the entire intent of feminism. So that's what we are also seeing it happening with the International Women's Day, with women creating initiatives that disrupt the intent of women being included in big conversations too. Instead of pushing that agenda, they are pushing agendas that don't properly align. So, for instance, accelerate action, and you beautifully explain to us areas that if we intentionally accelerate in terms of our actions, we're able to make an impact in policy making, in decision taking, all of these things. But we have other women also saying that, listen, this is the time to fight with no consent. I don't want to mention anything, so nobody thinks I'm coming for them directly. But you get where I'm coming from.
Right.
So that's the angle we're coming.
Now that you have contextualized it, I think I can be able to speak to it.
Absolutely.
So the issues are enormous. Let's begin with, so in general, you talked about feminism. I have actually seen feminism being misconstrued by a lot of people. I think they have their own orientations when it comes to feminism.
Yeah.
That would just be one of them. But I think that we all have interest. However, the interest should actually be part of the bigger cause, the destination where we want to get to as a people. It shouldn't distract. It shouldn't also dilute the cause, because when it happens like that, we sort of moving away from. We are losing focus. And like you said, people are using that to champion their own interests. You can't blame them that much. But the narrative must be clear because we need to identify exactly what the themes must be. And once you have identified a theme, then you start working towards the theme. So a seat at the table, for instance, this current administration, under the leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, during his speech, inaugural speech, he mentioned that his government is going to be very deliberate on women inclusivity, bringing women to the table as well, creating opportunities for women to function and contribute largely to building our country. Now, that's one thing to say. Another thing, and there's another thing to this, which is empowering the woman to have a seat. So maybe we should have been empowered yesterday so that today we can occupy that seat.
Yeah.
But we haven't, we skipped yesterday. And now that the table is here and we are looking for women, we can't find women to sit at the table. Does it mean that we can't govern or we can't run the country until we build and prepare or propel a woman to sit at the table? Obviously, no. The country has to run. So what do? It actually reminds us of what we should have done yesterday that we didn't do, that we are faced with a challenge today. And we will continue to go in circles, come back, and still be having the same conversation. So the agenda collectively should be creating that enabling space for that woman to actually, when the time is due, actually preparing her that when the opportunity comes, they will be confident enough and they will be competent enough to take the seat and, rule in confidence. That is missing when we talk about what the objectives should be. At the end of, so far I have seen, so I know that the trade minister, the 2 cabinet ministers are females.
Yes.
So we have Honorable Jifa Ablagomashi, tourism, trade and arts, and then we have the trade minister as well. I am still counting, and I haven't seen that many of us, in there. Why and how did we get here? I want to believe that he's still not done. But this is just one typical example that I wanted to use to expatiate the conversation. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done. Constant reminder is when we look at the fact that we are advocating for a seat for the woman, yet we have not prepared that woman enough to take up the seat. If she takes it, is it all about just occupying space? No, we want to be competent. We want to be impactful. We also want to be, we want to shout. We want
Can I shout? Yes.
We want to, we should know what we are about and what we are doing. So if you are getting women into your administration, the plan is not just to fill the spots. That's why I said it should be deliberate, and everything revolves around accelerating action in this dimension as well. We shouldn't forget that it's broad and it's a process. If you skip one, you get to the end of your journey and you would realize that you have to come back and in reverse to do the work before you can get to where you ought to get to. And so I think that Mimi is the agenda should be, we shouldn't lose focus if it has to do with rewiring ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, and being deliberate with the girl child. It has to start right now, because I just cannot understand. I'm still counting, and I know that we are not going to make that 50%.
We won't.
No, we won't.
Even with the members of parliament, if they are picking from the members of parliament, we will not be able to make it.
We are talking about the affirmative action bill,
which has been passed for us beautifully, but we didn't see a good representation of us even running for our own areas.
So you see what I'm talking about, right? But it starts from somewhere. From the assemblyman to the DC to, there's a hierarchy that you have to follow. If you don't, you cannot just jump from, you'll be lucky enough to get to that point without necessarily having to go through the routine or the process, and all of that. But it starts from somewhere. These are some of the opportunities that we are talking about. So we just don't want to be seen making noise. We just don't want to be seen being soft about all the soft things. We also believe that when we are well empowered, we can handle the hardcore stuff. We can also contribute largely to shaping our society. We can give back to society. And we can make the policies that should be in our favor. If I'm not at the table, why do I have to care about women initiatives, policies that would change the narrative when it comes to issues that women are faced with? You can only make those changes when you have a seat at the table, because it directly concerns you.
You are representing it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You have made super salient points. I think one of the things that bothers me a little bit, and you touched on it profoundly. You profoundly said it, and it's about, we don't want to just be in the room. We don't want to be at the table too. In recent times, we recorded new identified crimes. And as a new president will call it, Ghana is a crime scene. So some of the parties being women. And I was asking one of my very good friends a question that, so this is what we ask for to be included in the conversation. Even if, peradventure, the crime was committed around you, so you're not directly involved in, how are you asking for a position that you cannot be vigilant around or in, right? Because if I'm going to a room right now, I know that people will be looking at me. Hey, wow, what is she going to do? So the onus lies on me to run a system that is devoid of crime. But if crime is recorded and your name as a woman, one of the few women in the system is included, then why are we asking for a sisu? So
already we don't even stand a chance.
So I love it when you say that. It's not that we want to be included. It's not like we want to see women at the table to know. We want to see capable women.
Mimi, I'm sure the president wishes to have more competent women to compete.
I'm very sure.
I'm telling you, except that.
What is, he has nothing to work with. Where are we?
The experience.
Where are we?
Oh my goodness.
And that is the thing. Where are we? We are not here because we weren't prepared yesterday to be here today. So that's a huge gap. How do you even get there? I remember during the vetting process, I think, I don't want to mention, but I'm sure once I talk about this particular incident that happened, you might be able to, connect it.
And I will take the responsibility of mentioning it.
Right, okay, sure. I trust you to do that. Thank you. So I remember very well when one female minister designate was vetted, what we heard after the vetting was that they had paid the panel or the committee, right, the hearing committee or the vetting committee not to
vet her.
Not vet her, all right, but don't ask her difficult questions.
Right.
Or vet her, all right, she just has to go through the process, but do not touch on sensitive nerves, kind of. When I heard that after the vetting, disappointment is just an understatement, Aminah. If men are being thrown questions in practicality that has to do with the spots they are vying to occupy, with the portfolios that they are vying to occupy, and I take a seat at the table and you have to be lenient with me because I am a woman.
So why are you here
What's
then?
happening?
Because that same position a man could occupy, take the hard questions and move on.
Yeah.
How do we clear that
That alone would even give them the opportunity not to include us, even though we are at the table.
We are not capable. That is the narrative indirectly. It's a very subtle narrative that holds a lot of impact, and it travels very fast and far.
Yeah.
You know what does it? When I heard that, I was so. I think. My heart was broken. I was like, if that really did happen, then there is a problem. That's why I said, I know the president wishes to have more to prove a point that he is for women.
But
that's why
what is he going to
even
work with?
appointing a female vice president,
was
the
important
first ever,
to him.
was very crucial. And it was to make a statement, and it was to create that enabling environment for more women to come in and flourish. But it's going to be difficult if the vice president is willing to open the door to us and we come unprepared.
We want the leniency.
She's looking for something that she can't find in you, and you are still expecting her to be biased because you are a woman. No, that favor will not be extended to you.
That's not how it works.
Let's be empowered and wired in such a way that when we show up, we know what we are about.
In full force.
In full force. Not to compete, but to partner.
To be ourselves.
To be yourself. And be confident about your decisions. You need to understand the dynamics. You need to understand the technicalities. You need to begin preparing yourself for this day. If you want to. If I say I want to be a diplomat tomorrow, someday, I love my job as a journalist, an international relations journalist. But if I'm aspiring to be a diplomat tomorrow, there's a process. You have to start from somewhere. If you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a media personality, you know that you have to walk through a particular process to get there. You cannot just be appointed, and it affects us when we act like that, because it's no more business as usual. Mimi. It's no more business as usual, because business as usual is why we are where we are today, because we have to just share for everyone to get a portion of the pie, and that's why we end up here. But if we are holding people accountable, we are measuring people by what they bring to the table, their performances, what they know. So you are being called because you can do something, you can change. There are problems. The president has said there are problems. We are faced with a lot of challenges right now. We have everything. I need people who can join me on this ship so that we can just get to where we all desire to get to. And if we can't, and we have to share, because it has to be shareable. So you are bringing on board people with no expertise, people with no experiences, and they are occupying very sensitive positions, and they are going to be there making all the wrong choices, the wrong decisions, with no direction, and we all end up crashing. Then we come back again, repair the ship, and then we start all over again. I'll leave it here.
Producer, I say you're ready to close the show. I mean, what else do you want to hear? Because it's heartbreaking, and I share in your sentiment. I share in your pain. When I heard it, and
you did as well. Oh, okay.
There's actually one. So let's pretend there are two scenarios.
Okay.
Let's pretend there are two scenarios. There's one that I think even the ranking member said that in the ranking member's interview, he mentioned a name. So I'm going to mention the name he mentioned, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, and he said that we were asked to not even vet at all. She is in the history of Ghana's vetting as the woman, as an individual, let's not even call it woman, individual who spent the least time at the vetting. And within 5 minutes, she was done. And we're asking, what just happened? People, what just happened? And in the from the ranking member's own mouth, compromising their position even, by the way, let me highlight that as well. Compromising their position, because their job there is to vet whoever has been nominated to them. So that is even a wrong on their side. And I look at the chat, and there's a woman on top of it. That, oh, she's not able to take in. And the comparison to social media was just crazy. Like, oh, you people were able to vet Hawa Kumsin, who couldn't put English together at her time. But you people think it's difficult to vet this person. And it became another woman war.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that you people, we asked for this. We fought years for affirmative action. We fought years for women to be included. And only to be given the opportunity, and we are passing behind doors like we don't even deserve it. In any case, these conversations are why we're here. And every time I sit on this platform, these conversations, I mean, every time I sit on this platform, I am humbled to have these conversations, because it then paves way for the people that I really am passionate about. And that's our younger generation, to see the loopholes, to see where the problem is, so that at least we can solve it on that level. So thank you for sharing your insight. Your generation, I mean, you and I generation, we have a platform that belongs to us.
Yeah.
No matter who is on there, it's for us, and that's a social media platform.
Yeah.
We've seen social media win wars that soldiers could not win.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
We've seen action stopped on social media before government could even take decision. Over here in Ghana alone, I remember the whatever sexual education. Do you remember that when the government was introducing?
It was part of their curriculum.
It was.
I've forgotten
Oh my
about
goodness!
the name.
It was a very long name, but it was
about
a
sexual education.
And even without understanding it, people fought against it
Yeah.
to the point where government had to remove it.
Yeah.
Even though it had it wasn't entirely a wrong agenda. It was to propel a certain.
But the communication didn't go.
But social media stopped it in its tracks. So we see how powerful social media is. Now we have an agenda to push, which is women being included in conversation. But now we know that it has to be competent women.
Yeah.
How do we use social media to champion this cause?
In my earlier submission, when I was talking about the fact that anytime you go on social media, you barely find things that ignite to the full potentials of a young woman or a woman in general. We limit the conversation for some people to discuss. And the people that should come out to talk about it are seeing themselves as, I am in a certain class. I don't want to be part. But I say that if you leave certain things for certain people who are not competent enough to handle, it will ball back to us as well.
It will push a narrative that is not true.
Because you go on social media, and today, it's there. You find them talking about things that, on live conversation, things that are not supposed to be talked about. So some people would say, how I wish this particular social media platform is being taken off in our Ghanaian, region, so that we can have full force of owning our culture back, owning our society back. I know a lot of people who are doing so well. We can name a lot of them. Some of my colleagues, they are doing so well with the social media. You go on their pages, LinkedIn, you get empowered to do more as a young woman. But there and there again, the younger generation like us, it's not everybody that will get to understand that this is how it's supposed to be. Some people must go through negativity. And then if you don't take care, become part and parcel of them. So what I want to say is that this boils back to the Media Commission. Because even on the television, sometimes I get mad. You open your television and then the things they are saying is, excuse me to say, if you're a man and you want to be competent in so and so, this is what you should take. If you're a woman and you want, so all the conversation is sexuality, how to please a man, how to please a woman. There is nothing in the most of the time that is encouraging the young woman from the start. And then the conversation are not open. They are limited to a few people. How do we get there? We need to penetrate the system through the same social media. Let's not say that, okay, somebody is this, so if she's saying the right thing, we need to ignore the fact. Let's all look at the positivity that is coming out of the language the person is speaking, rather than looking at the person's personality as an individual. Because as personality, I have my own personality, I have my own flaws, but what about my job? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it well? Let's focus on that. When we focus on that for the young women, then we are progressing. But when we focus on the personal lifestyle of that individual person, that is when we are.
Do you not think that, and I'm saying this, let me poke a little bit of hole into your, just because I heard Anita Eskin once say on social media that the person carrying the message, so it's one person carrying the message and it's one person going through emotional stress. Now, these two, you cannot unmarry them. They're together. It's the same person carrying the message that is not stable mentally. How are you able to safely send the message across? So do you not feel like, and I'm trying to relate this to what you're saying, if my character is questioned in the media space, if my character is questioned on the social media that likes agenda setting, if my character is questioned there, do you not feel like naturally it would distort the message that I'm sending across?
For me, I think I disagree with that. Because we look at how questionable is the character. Have we seen it or we are just hearing it?
Right.
If you're just hearing it, then you don't have any evidence.
Right.
As long as you've not seen it and you are hearing from the so-called social media setting, and I am preaching what I'm preaching for the young women to get equipped, empowered, to go on and access their own growth, then I think that you should listen to what I'm saying. But you can't sit here and judge me whilst you've not seen it.
Right.
So we already, you see, our society is made to shift our focus on the things that makes us better instead of things that pulls us down. So I always want, I have a lot of people would social media-wise, people say they are questionable, but I look at what they are bringing on board and I tap inside because I want to see myself there and they have passed through. Okay, let's say they are questionable. They have passed through the medium to be questionable for us to set the fire ablaze in the positive manner. So whoever the person is, I'm looking at what is she doing right, not looking at the flaws, because if you look at the flaws, I will still be there as a young woman and I won't get the pace. So I would want to say that social media is that we should use it well and we should leverage on the fact that people are speaking good language in actionable ways. We are seeing them doing whatever they want to do in whatever field that they are doing. Then we can learn from them. But if we want to look at all we can't take everybody's personality. Besides, I have my own personality, but I have to tap into the positive aspect.
And so we should stop amplifying the negativities on social media and focus on how positive these individuals can impact us. Now, this one was just sent to me, so I'm going to have to read this to you. Now, is there a risk that the visibility of women's issues on this day could fuel resentment from the opposite? Of course, misunderstanding as well from the opposite, was it gender? Let me put it that way. And do we feel like this conversation of we are marginalized, we are not heard enough, is going to irritate our counterparts, our male counterparts at some point, and in that way maybe stifle the growth of whatever it is that we've planted?
I don't think so at all. I don't think so because the other gender or the opposite gender, the male in this, let me just say that it depends on who you are talking to. it depends on the make of the person's mind, the orientation about women, and every other thing that concerns women. In fact, I find it very, I'm unable to comprehend how any man born out of a woman will not be sensitive to women issues. It has to concern you. If it doesn't concern you, your girl child will concern you. Let's say if your mother's doesn't concern you, your female relatives, you know, their issues don't concern you. Your daughter, any reasonable man will be concerned about their daughter. And I think that is where we should rather look at it from. This shouldn't create any kind of resentment. They should rather applaud the women for being self-aware and conscious and paying attention. There are men who appreciate women like that. There are those who are highly intimidated by women like that because of their backgrounds, because of where they are coming from, and everything that makes them as that kind of man. And the other man appreciates it because he is also coming from a place where his sisters have been empowered so much so that they could speak for themselves, they can stand for themselves, they can take care of themselves. No person in the name of a man outside can take advantage of them. They have been empowered. They will not make decisions based on bread and butter because they have more than just bread and butter. And they see life in a certain way beyond bread and butter. You know, and cars and houses and you name it and all of that. That's just by the way. But I'm just saying that rather it should get them to listen because we are not making noise. We are talking about, and if you look at it from this angle, you would realize and begin to appreciate the fact that we are beginning to talk about the issues that we are faced with when we continue to say and drum loudly and say that we are marginalized. We feel marginalized because we feel that there's more to me than what you know. There's more to me than what you see. And I am just nagging and I am so disturbed and I am mad that you are not hearing me, you are not giving me the opportunity to even contribute to making life better for us.
Right.
So if you look at it from that angle, then you would begin to appreciate the fact that you have a helpmate. And not only in the marriage institution kind of a term that I'm using here, but I'm trying to, in all aspects of life. You know, you have a person who is willing and saying that I see what you are doing. I see the load you are carrying. I see that you are going through troubles. I see that you are doing too much for our sake. How about you create some space for me and empower me? Once you tell me that I can do it, let me help you so that we can somehow manage the weight on your head. And if you look at it from that angle, I think it's a conversation that must be had, and it has to because it concerns everyone. If I'm not directly, you don't have a sister, someday you have a daughter, you will regret the fact that you didn't empower her enough to make certain decisions.
Right.
You know, so it's very crucial.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that it should be looked at, you know,
in that line.
In that line, such as, you know, we are making noise. We are not just, we are making noise, absolutely. Indeed, we are about to make more noise, but we need you to understand. We are drumming into your ears because we want change. We want you to be able to help us get to that place. That's what it is, Mimi.
Listen, we could use all day and we would not be able to completely exhaust this conversation. But ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Finally, as we wrap up the conversation, you want to highlight a woman who has impacted you so much, who you want to celebrate briefly, because my team is telling me that we've exhausted all our time. I told them that they didn't give us enough time. I'm sorry, we brought powerful guests, so unfortunately. So finally, let's just wrap up by just highlighting briefly women who have done great in our lives, and we want to say thank you to them.
Thank you to all the women in my circle. I choose wisely. I choose carefully. I am very deliberate about any woman that I get close to, they don't have to be perfect, but they have something that makes their lives perfect. And I want my life to be perfect. So when I get closer to them, what they have, it doesn't matter the baggages that they are carrying, but I look out for the lights that they are shining that has also lit my way. And I take inspiration from that. So I am super blessed. If I tell you how blessed I am with the women in my circle, you would be amazed. Almost all the life-changing opportunities that I've had, most of them came from women. I'm telling you. I get to the airport, a woman is arranging for a car to pick me up. A woman is actually recommending me to an organization. A woman is sitting in a conference, an international conference, and she's championing for me, mentioning my name. And that's the kind. So I think you have to choose well. Just be careful, you know, filter as much as you can, and make sure that you have people who will guide you through this life, because we all need mentors. Your mentor has a mentor. Don't forget that. So we all need someone who will just shape our life. Theirs might not be perfect, but they still want to share with you what they have. So that's it.
Thank you so much. And you?
Okay, so just like she said, if I say I'm mentioning, I can't finish.
You can't mention, and you are going to probably miss names. I don't
all the women.
And so to all the women, and also the women's commissioners, past, present, everybody, they are also included in these conversations, and I know they've done so well. To all the women, I want to say Happy International Women's Day to you. Let's continue, you know, setting the fire blazing for the women, for ourselves, and then the ones yet to come.
Thank you so much, ladies. You are absolutely phenomenal women. I had joining me Aminah, and of course my diplomats, Harriet, Nartey. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming through. So I totally enjoyed having this conversation. I want us to do this again on a different conversation, but a big thank you to Epiglow, of course, for holding us down, to Decozon for giving me this very beautiful set, Gino, Telecel, and of course Cowbell Coffee, your partner for life. I'm giving that name to Cowbell Coffee because if you wake up in the morning and you need that partner to be there with you, Cowbell Coffee saves my life every single morning. And I just want to say thank you to all of them for coming on board the show, and a big thank you to my entire team for holding this together. Episode 1 of season 4 is here. Ladies and gentlemen, this season 4 is going to be absolutely amazing. Do not miss out. Join us on all social media platforms, MX04GH, but the hashtag is The Dish on MX. See you again next week. My name is Miriam Udwa Kamensa. See you.